Welcome back to the channel, my spooky friends. Tonight we delve into the murky depths of some of the most unsettling places on Earth's swamps. Turn off the lights, huddle close, and get ready to be terrified. Our first story takes us to the backwoods of Louisiana, where the humid air hangs heavy and the Spanish moss drips from the trees like tattered ghosts. It's here we find the Blackwater Swamp, a place locals whisper about with a mixture of fear and respect. And it was here that 23-year-old Sarah Blackwood was last seen on a sweltering July night. Sarah, a bright and bubbly waitress at the local diner, was driving home from her shift when her car was found abandoned on a desolate road that bordered the swamp. The headlights were still on, casting eerie beams into the darkness, and her purse sat untouched on the passenger seat. But Sarah was gone. Search parties combed the swamp for weeks, but the only trace of Sarah they could find was a single ballet slipper, snagged on a cypress knee deep in the swamp. What had happened to Sarah Blackwood? Had she stumbled into the swamp's murky depths? Was there something more sinister at play? Locals will tell you that the Blackwater Swamp is no place for a young woman alone at night. They say it's haunted by the rougarou, a terrifying swamp monster with the body of a man and the head of a wolf. Could Sarah have been a victim of the rougarou? Or was there a more earthly explanation for her disappearance? Some whisper that Sarah had met with foul play. Despite the whispers and speculation, Sarah's disappearance remains a mystery to this day. The swamp, it seems, holds its secrets close. Our next story takes us north, to the dense, fog-choked wilderness of Maine. Here, nestled among towering pines and shrouded in an almost perpetual mist, lies the foggy marshlands, a place where the sun rarely penetrates and the air hums with the drone of unseen insects. It's a place of stark beauty and unsettling stillness, a place where it's all too easy to imagine getting lost and never being found. And for a group of 5 college friends, this nightmare became a terrifying reality. Eager to experience the raw beauty of the marsh, the friends set out on a weekend hiking trip, their backpacks laden with supplies and their spirits high. They were experienced hikers, familiar with the trails and confident in their abilities. But the foggy marshlands, they would soon learn, is a place that commands respect. The first day passed without incident. The friends hiked deep into the marsh, setting up camp near a small, stagnant pond. They shared stories and laughter around a crackling fire, the flickering flames casting dancing shadows against the surrounding trees. But as the night wore on, the mood began to shift. A thick fog rolled in, blanketing the campsite in an eerie silence. The air, once filled with the sounds of the forest, grew strangely still. The laughter died down, replaced by an uneasy tension. One of the hikers, a young woman named Emily, swore she saw something moving in the shadows, just beyond the reach of the firelight. Her friends dismissed it as nerves, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. As the night deepened, so too did their unease. Strange noises echoed through the trees, rustling sounds that seemed too heavy to be just the wind. The hikers huddled closer to the fire, their faces pale in the flickering light. Then the screaming started. It began as a low moan, carried on the wind. At first, the hikers thought it was just an animal, but as the sound grew louder, more desperate, they knew something was terribly wrong. Emily's boyfriend, Mark, grabbed his flashlight and ran towards the sound, followed closely by 2 of the other hikers. Emily and her friend Jessica stayed behind, clinging to each other in terror. Minutes passed, each one stretching out into an eternity. The screams abruptly stopped, replaced by an unsettling silence. Emily and Jessica were now alone, their hearts pounding in their chests. They called out for their friends, but their voices were swallowed by the fog. Finally, after what felt like hours, they decided they couldn't wait any longer. They had to get help. Trembling with fear, they grabbed their belongings and ran through the fog-choked forest, desperate to escape the nightmare that had engulfed them. Chapter 3: The Disappearance of the Swamp Ranger. Our final tale takes us deep into the heart of the Louisiana bayou, a place of ancient mystery and haunting beauty. Here, beneath the tangled canopy of cypress trees and Spanish moss, lies the murky bayou, a labyrinth of waterways and islands that has swallowed more than its fair share of souls. It's a place where the line between reality and folklore blurs, where the whispers of the wind sound like ancient chants, and where even the most experienced outdoorsmen tread carefully. It was in this unforgiving environment that Ranger Jacques Boudreau, a man who knew the bayou like the back of his hand, vanished without a trace. Ranger Boudreau was a legend in those parts. He'd grown up in the shadow of the bayou, learning its secrets from his father and his father before him. He could navigate the treacherous waterways with his eyes closed, could identify every plant and creature with a mere glance, and could tell you more stories about the bayou than you could shake a stick at. But even a man as experienced as Jacques Boudreau couldn't escape the mysteries that lurked within the murky bayou's depths. It was a stormy evening when Jack set out on his routine patrol. The sky was a bruised purple, lit by flashes of lightning that illuminated the bayou in brief, terrifying bursts. The air was thick with the smell of rain, and the low rumble of thunder echoed through the trees. Jack, however, was unfazed. He'd weathered countless storms in his time, and he trusted his instincts, trusted the bayou to treat him with respect. He climbed into his patrol boat, a sturdy vessel that had been his companion for years, and set off into the gathering storm. The wind picked up, whipping the water into a frenzy. Rain lashed down in sheets, reducing visibility to mere feet. But Jack pressed on, his hand steady on the boat's tiller. He had a job to do. As the storm raged around him, Jack's radio crackled to life. It was the ranger station, requesting a status update. "This is Boudreau." Jack's voice, usually calm and steady, was tight with tension. "I'm about 5 clicks south of Dead Man's Point. The storm's kicking up something fierce." "Copy that, Boudreau," the voice from the radio crackled back. "Just checking in. You be careful out there." "Always am," Jack replied, a hint of unease creeping into his voice. There was a pause, then Jack spoke again, his voice barely a whisper. Did you ever hear of something in the water? Something big?" The voice on the other end of the radio was silent for a moment. "Boudreau, what are you talking about?" But there was no reply, only the hiss of static and the roar of the storm. That was the last anyone ever heard from Ranger Jack Boudreau. Search and rescue teams scoured the bayou for weeks, but they found no trace of Jack or his boat. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Some whispered that the storm had claimed him, that his boat had capsized in the raging waters. Others, however, weren't so sure. So there you have it, my spooky friends. 3 chilling tales of mysterious disappearances in spooky swamps. If you enjoyed these tales of terror, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more spine-chilling stories. And be sure to let me know in the comments. Have you ever had a spooky encounter in a swamp? Or do you know any local legends about these mysterious places?